Imaging finding a rare coin so rare it could pay off your house today, we're diving into 10 of the most valuable US coins ever found. Real coins worth hundreds and even millions of dollars or more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next rare find. Let's start this.
What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a simple 1-cent coin, could be the difference between ordinary living and extraordinary wealth? What if right now, sitting quietly in a jar on your kitchen shelf or forgotten inside a dusty drawer, there is a coin that serious collectors would compete for? Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and highly pursued modern American coins, the 1968 Mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent. And not just any version, but the rare errors, the overlooked treasures, the pieces that have shocked auction rooms and turned pocket change into powerful paydays. Take a moment and imagine this. It's 1968. The nation is changing. The Vietnam War dominates headlines. Music is evolving. The American dream is being redefined. And in the middle of it all, the United States Mint is striking pennies in San Francisco, each bearing the proud S. Mint mark under the date. These coins, officially known as the 1968 South Lincoln Center, were produced at the legendary San Francisco Mint, a facility known for precision, proof coinage, and historical significance. The Lincoln Cent itself was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1968, the Lincoln Cent carried the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what many people do not realize is that 1968 was a pivotal year. It was the first year since 1964 that mint marks returned to U.S. coins after a temporary removal intended to discourage hoarding. That small S beneath the date suddenly became meaningful again. Now here's where excitement begins to build. While millions of 1968 cents were struck, not all were created equal. Some were struck as proof coins, mirror-like surfaces, razor-sharp details, intended for collectors. Others entered circulation. And within those production runs, mistakes happened. Errors occurred. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are not flaws. Mistakes are opportunity. Have you ever looked closely at the date on a penny and thought it looked a little strange? Slightly doubled. Slightly off. That could be your gateway to discovery. The 1968 South Proof Lincoln Center is known for double die varieties. A double die error occurs when the coin die receives a misaligned second impression during its creation. The result is visible doubling on letters, numbers, or design elements. On certain 1968 proof cents, collectors have identified doubling on the date and inscriptions such as Liberty and In God We Trust. Let me ask you something powerful. If you found a coin in your possession that was worth not 1 cent but thousands of dollars, would you even recognize it? Or would it slip through your fingers unnoticed? This is where fear enters the picture, not fear of loss, but fear of ignorance. Because across America, coins worth serious money are unknowingly spent, rolled, and deposited into banks every single day. Imagine the regret of discovering that you once owned a valuable error coin but never took the time to examine it. Now pause for a second. When was the last time you actually examined your pocket change under magnification? No, seriously. When was the last time? The 1968 South Proof Lincoln Center with strong double die characteristics in pristine condition has commanded impressive prices in auction settings. High-grade examples certified by major grading services like PCGS or NGC have sold for thousands of dollars, depending on eye appeal and demand. Coins graded PR69 Deep Cameo, nearly flawless with sharp contrast between frosted devices and mirror fields, have drawn competitive bidding from collectors who understand rarity. And here's the beautiful truth: condition is everything. In the coin market, value is driven by rarity, demand, and grade. A common circulated 1968 cent may only be worth face value. But a proof coin in exceptional condition, especially with a recognized error, can be worth dramatically more. Why? Because collectors pay for perfection. Investors pay for scarcity. And the market rewards knowledge. Picture yourself at an auction. The room is quiet. A coin appears on the screen, 1968, South Proof Lincoln Center, double die, PR 69 deep cameo. The bidding begins. $1,000. $2,000. $3,000. The numbers climb. You feel your heart race. That coin, once a humble penny, is now commanding attention like a rare painting. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. Imagine explaining to your friends that you made more money from a penny than from your first job. Sounds crazy? In the world of rare coins, it's absolutely possible, but this is not just about excitement. This is about strategy. How do you identify a valuable 1968 penny? First, examine the mint mark. It should be a clear S beneath the date. For proof coins, look for mirror-like surfaces and sharp strikes. Next, inspect for doubling on the inscriptions. Use a magnifying glass or loupe. Look at the date, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Genuine double dies show separation lines, not simple blur or machine doubling. And now the question that so many of you are thinking: how do I sell old rare coins? How do I sell coins safely in the United States? How do I turn a discovered treasure into real money? Selling rare coins is both art and business. The first step is authentication. Never sell a potentially valuable coin raw without professional evaluation. Submit it to a reputable grading service. Certification provides credibility. It protects you and reassures buyers. In today's market, certified coins command higher prices because buyers trust third-party grading. Next comes choosing the right marketplace. Should you sell to a local coin shop? Should you use a major auction house? Should you list online? Each method has advantages. Auction houses can create competitive bidding and drive prices upward, especially for high-grade or rare error coins. Local shops provide speed and convenience. Online platforms offer broad exposure but require knowledge and caution. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly profit from coins while others barely break even? It comes down to understanding timing and demand. Coin markets fluctuate. When interest in Lincoln cents surges, prices follow. When registry set competition intensifies, top-grade coins skyrocket, from pocket change to potential thousands. That transformation is not fantasy. It is preparation meeting opportunity. Act 2 begins with a realization. You are not just holding coins. You are holding pieces of American history. The 1968 South Lincoln Center represents a transitional moment in U.S. minting practices. It marks the return of mint marks after their absence. It reflects a nation in cultural transformation. And within that historical context, certain error coins stand out like hidden gems. Imagine searching through an old proof set purchased decades ago and finding a 1968 cent with crisp doubling. You send it for grading. Weeks pass. The results arrive. High grade. Verified variety. Suddenly, what once seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary. Let me ask you directly, how many proof sets from the late 1960s are sitting unopened in closets across America? How many families inherited coin collections and never examined them closely? Opportunity favors the informed. There is urgency here. Coins do not improve in condition over time. Improper storage can lead to toning, spotting, or environmental damage. If you suspect you own a valuable 1968 South Proof Center, protect it. Store it properly. Avoid cleaning it. Cleaning destroys value. Even a gentle wipe can create hairlines visible under magnification, dramatically reducing market price. Here's a quick humorous reset. If you're thinking about polishing your coin to make it shiny, please step away from the toothpaste. Collectors want originality, not sparkle from your bathroom sink. Now back to serious wealth building. The coin market in the United States remains one of the most active collectible markets in the world. Millions of collectors compete for top-grade modern proofs. Registry sets encourage collectors to seek the highest certified examples. Imagine reaching into your pocket tonight, pulling out a simple penny, and discovering that it could be worth more than a luxury vacation, more than a brand new car, maybe even enough to transform your financial future. It sounds unbelievable. It sounds like a dream. But for a few sharp-eyed collectors, that dream became reality with one extraordinary coin, the 1969 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced. Not tossed into a jar. Really looked at them. Most people ignore the humble cent. They underestimate it. They treat it like noise in their pocket. And that is exactly why opportunity hides there. Because when the crowd ignores something, the prepared few can profit from it. Today, we are diving deep into the power, the mystery, and the potential fortune hidden inside the 1969 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent penny. This is not just about copper and zinc. This is about awareness. This is about timing. This is about knowing what others overlook. And if you are between 30 and 65, living in the United States, holding onto old jars of change, inherited coin collections, or forgotten rolls tucked away in drawers, this message is especially for you. Act 1 begins with a simple truth. History leaves clues that in 1969, America was in transition. The nation was watching astronauts prepare to step onto the moon. The economy was shifting. Culture was evolving. And at the same time, millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were struck by the United States Mint. Among them were coins produced at the Denver facility, identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date. At first glance, the 1969 D penny looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse. The familiar words, "In God we trust." The reverse bearing 1 cent and United States of America. Simple. Common. Almost invisible, but here is where excitement begins to rise. Within large mintages, mistakes can happen. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are not flaws. They are treasure. Errors create scarcity. Scarcity creates demand. And demand creates powerful market value. Have you ever wondered how to make money from coins without being a professional dealer? Have you asked yourself, how do I sell old rare coins in the USA and actually get top dollar? What if that answer begins with understanding errors? The 1969 D Lincoln cent is known among collectors for several types of errors that ignite serious interest. Off-center strikes. Die cracks. Repunched mint marks. Dramatic doubling in certain design elements. While the famous 1969's double die is often discussed in headlines, the 1969 D has its own compelling varieties that attract attention from seasoned buyers and auction houses. Now pause with me for a second. What if you have one? What if, sitting in a jar in your kitchen, there's a 1969 D penny with a noticeable error that could command hundreds, even thousands of dollars depending on condition? That's not fantasy. That is market reality. Act 2 is where tension builds. This is where fear and urgency enter the story, because here's the uncomfortable truth: every year, valuable coins are accidentally spent. They are rolled up at banks. They are dropped into Coinstar machines. They disappear back into circulation. Opportunity slips away not because it didn't exist, but because it wasn't recognized, and that should create a spark of urgency inside you. The value of a 1969 D Lincoln cent depends heavily on condition. In circulated grades, most examples trade modestly. But uncirculated pieces, especially those with strong eye appeal, sharp strike, and original mint luster, can command significantly higher prices. Add a recognized error to that mix, and the numbers climb. Collectors examine details closely. They look at the clarity of the date. They inspect the D mint mark for repunching or unusual placement. They search for doubling in the lettering. They study the surfaces under magnification for die breaks and cuts. And here's a question you may be thinking right now: how do I know if my coin is valuable? How do I avoid being cheated? How do I sell old coins safely? First, knowledge is protection. Learn the basics of grading. Understand the difference between circulated and mint state. Recognize that coins in mint state 65 or above can command premiums far beyond face value. Professional grading services authenticate and encapsulate coins, giving buyers confidence and often raising market value. Second, demand drives pricing. The 1969 D Lincoln cent remains part of a beloved long-running series that began in 1909. Collectors building complete sets seek strong examples from each mint. When you combine date collectors, variety hunters, and error enthusiasts, you create layered demand, and demand means opportunity. Have you ever asked yourself how to go from pocket change to millions? It starts with discipline. It starts with study. It starts with taking coins seriously. No one becomes wealthy by accident. They become wealthy by recognizing value early. Picture this: you sort through a box of old coins inherited from a relative. At first, you feel uncertain. Maybe even overwhelmed. But instead of rushing, you slow down. You examine. You research. You compare. And then you notice something unusual about a 1969 D penny. The mint mark looks slightly doubled. The lettering appears shifted. You send it for professional grading. Weeks later, it returns authenticated as a recognized error in high grade. Suddenly, you are not holding 1 cent. You are holding leverage. Now the emotional shift begins. Excitement replaces doubt. Possibility replaces hesitation. But let's reset attention for a second. Quick question: if a penny is worth 1 cent, why do collectors pay hundreds or thousands? Because collectors do not buy money. They buy rarity. They buy story. They buy history captured in metal, and the 1969 D Lincoln cent carries that story. Act 3 is about action. It is about execution. It is about turning knowledge into results. You may be wondering, how do I sell old and rare coins in the USA? Should I go to a local coin shop? Should I use an online auction? Should I approach a major auction house? Here's the empowering truth: you have options. Local coin shops offer convenience and immediate payment. Reputable dealers can evaluate your coin and make offers based on current market conditions. This is ideal for quicker liquidity. Online platforms expand your audience. When more eyes see your coin, competitive bidding can push prices higher. High-quality photographs, clear descriptions, and certified grading dramatically increase buyer confidence. Major auction houses specialize in high-value pieces. If your 1969 D penny has a dramatic error or exceptional grade, consigning it to a recognized auction can attract serious collectors who are willing to compete aggressively. So ask yourself, are you prepared to present your coin in the strongest possible way? Professional photography matters. Certification matters. Timing matters. When markets are strong and collector demand is active, prices can reach impressive levels, and yes, the maximum dollar value for a 1969 D Lincoln cent depends entirely on condition and error type. Exceptional mint state examples with recognized and dramatic errors have reached remarkable sums in the marketplace. While most are modest, the standout pieces command attention and premium bids. What if I told you that one specific coin, the 1971's mint mark Lincoln 1 cent, has the power to ignite excitement across auction floors and private collections throughout the United States? What if that ordinary-looking cent could be the doorway from pocket change to a powerful financial opportunity? Today we're diving deep into the story, the mystery, and the potential behind the 1971's Lincoln penny. And if you are between 30 and 65 years old, living in the United States, holding on to old jars of coins, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls from the bank, this message is especially for you. Because the difference between a common penny and a high-value treasure often comes down to knowledge, timing, and action. The year 1971 was a time of transformation in America. The Vietnam War was still ongoing. The dollar was detaching from the gold standard. And at the same time, the United States Mint was striking millions of Lincoln cents, including those at the historic United States Mint facility in San Francisco. That small S mint mark under the date tells a story of precision, proof coinage, and in some cases, rare and highly desirable errors. The 1971 South Lincoln Center was primarily produced as a proof coin, intended for collectors. Proof coins are struck differently. They are made using specially polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like fields and frosted devices. But here is where things get interesting. Not every 1971's penny is equal. Some are standard proof coins worth modest amounts. But others carry distinctive characteristics that transform them into sought-after collector pieces commanding significant sums in today's market. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually examined the pennies in your possession under a magnifying glass? Have you ever checked for doubling in the letters? Have you looked closely at the mint mark? Have you considered that what looks ordinary could actually be extraordinary? One of the most talked about varieties is the 1971's double die obverse. On certain coins, you can see noticeable doubling in the inscriptions such as Liberty and In God We Trust. This is not machine doubling. This is a true double die, created during the hubbing process at the mint. And collectors know the difference. They study it. They hunt for it. They compete for it. Imagine this scenario. A retired schoolteacher in Ohio opens a long-forgotten proof set inherited from a relative. Inside sits a 1971's penny with strong doubling. She sends it to a grading service. It comes back certified in a high grade with clear double die characteristics. That once overlooked penny suddenly becomes a centerpiece item. Auction houses notice. Bidders notice. And the price climbs. Do you see the emotional trigger here? Excitement. Possibility. Urgency. Because the longer you wait to examine what you own, the longer you might be sitting on hidden value. Now let's talk about condition. In the coin world, condition is king. A 1971's penny graded PR69 deep cameo by a top-tier grading service is vastly different in value compared to one with visible hairlines or haze. The difference between near perfect and slightly flawed can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars in premium. Have you asked yourself how to sell old rare coins in the USA? Do you know the difference between selling to a local coin shop and consigning to a major auction house? Do you understand how grading impacts trust and bidding competition? These questions matter because knowledge multiplies value. The professional coin grading service and numismatic guarantee company have transformed the coin marketplace. Certification provides authenticity, grade, and confidence. And confidence fuels higher bids. Without certification, buyers hesitate. With certification, they compete. Let's pause for a moment. Quick reality check. How many of you have jars of pennies sitting somewhere in your home right now? Be honest. Are they in the garage? A closet? A bank safety deposit box? And how many of those have you actually inspected? If you are smiling right now, that's your pattern interrupt. Because somewhere in that pile, there could be something worth far more than face value. The 1971's Lincoln penny is part of a long-running design featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The reverse design was created by Frank Gasparo, whose initials FG appear near the base of the memorial. That tiny detail reminds us that craftsmanship and artistry are embedded into every coin, but errors are where the true drama unfolds. Double dies. Off-center strikes. Repunched mint marks in earlier eras. Even subtle variations in cameo contrast can ignite bidding wars among advanced collectors. Picture an auction room. Phones ringing. Online bids climbing. A certified 1971's double die proof penny appears on the screen. The starting bid seems modest. Then two determined collectors recognize its sharp doubling and superior preservation. The price escalates. That humble cent becomes a headline item. Now let's connect this to you. Are you asking how to make money from coins? Are you wondering how to move from pocket change to millions? While not every coin is a jackpot, the principle remains powerful. Value hides in details. Wealth favors the informed. Action rewards the prepared. There is also urgency in today's market. As more collectors enter the hobby and as online marketplaces expand visibility, competition intensifies. Rare varieties become harder to find because educated collectors are actively searching. The longer a rare coin sits undiscovered, the more likely someone else will identify and acquire it. Fear can be a powerful motivator. What if you unknowingly spend a valuable coin? What if you sell it casually without proper evaluation? What if you accept a low offer because you didn't research auction comparables? That fear should not paralyze you. It should energize you. So, how do you sell old and rare coins in America effectively? First, identify and verify. Use magnification. Study reputable reference guides. Compare your coin to verified examples of the 1971's double die. Second, protect the coin. Never clean it. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. Third, consider professional grading. Certification adds credibility. Fourth, research auction records. Look at realized prices for similar grades and varieties. Fifth, choose the right selling channel. Local coin shops offer convenience. Major auction houses offer exposure and competitive bidding. Online platforms provide accessibility but require careful presentation and protection against scams. Are you seeing the pattern? Knowledge. Protection. Certification. Exposure. Competition. The emotional arc of this journey follows 3 acts. In the beginning, there is curiosity. You discover that a 1971's penny might hold significant value. In the middle, there is tension. You question authenticity. You evaluate condition. You decide whether to grade. And in the final act, there is resolution. The coin is authenticated. It enters the market. Bidders respond. Value is realized, and here is the powerful twist. Even if your 1971's penny turns out to be a standard proof without dramatic doubling, the process of learning positions you to recognize future opportunities. The skill you build today could help you identify tomorrow's rare variety. Imagine reaching into your pocket tonight, pulling out a single penny, and realizing it could be worth more than your monthly mortgage payment. Imagine discovering that the small copper coin sitting quietly in a dusty jar on your kitchen shelf is not just spare change, but a hidden financial opportunity. What if I told you that a 1973 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark could be the coin that changes the way you look at every handful of change for the rest of your life? Today we are diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1973 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin struck by the legendary United States Mint during a time of economic change and cultural transformation in America. This is not just another ordinary cent. This is a piece of American history, bearing the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of resilience, strength, and vision. And for the sharp-eyed collector, it can also represent serious money. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your wallet? Not glanced at them. Really looked at them. Have you ever asked yourself whether that small date stamped under Lincoln's portrait might be a doorway to unexpected wealth? Or have you been unknowingly spending coins that collectors would eagerly compete for at auction? The 1973 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was produced in Philadelphia. In that year, Philadelphia coins typically did not carry a mint mark, which means the absence of a mint mark is normal. But here's where things get exciting. While millions were struck for circulation, only a tiny fraction exist today in pristine, high-grade condition. And even fewer show dramatic mint errors that collectors crave. It's not just about the year. It's about condition. It's about errors. It's about rarity within abundance. Pause for a second. Think about this paradox. A coin made in the billions can still produce examples worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. How? Because in numismatics, perfection is rare. Coins were mass-produced. They were tossed into bags, shipped across the country, dumped into circulation. Most were scratched, worn, dulled by time. But a select few escaped the chaos. A few survived in brilliant uncirculated condition, blazing with original red luster, as if they were struck yesterday. Now imagine holding one of those blazing red 1973 pennies. The light dances across its surface. The details of Lincoln's hair are sharp. The wheat-free reverse, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, stands crisp and symmetrical. You flip it over, searching carefully for doubling in the letters. You examine the date under magnification. Is there a double die error? Is there a dramatic off-center strike? Is there a clipped planchet? Could this be one of those rare mint mistakes that turn pocket change into auction headlines? Let me ask you directly. Have you ever considered how to sell old rare coins in the USA and its value in auction shop settings? Have you ever wondered how to make money from coins, from pocket change to millions? Or how to sell old and rare coins in a way that protects you and maximizes profit? The 1973 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny becomes powerful when paired with knowledge. In average circulated condition, most examples trade for only a few cents above face value. But here is where the story changes dramatically. In mint state grades, especially MS65, MS66, and above, values begin climbing. In rare high-grade red specimens graded by major third-party services, the price can surge into the hundreds and in exceptional cases into the thousands of dollars. And if a significant mint error is present, that number can multiply. Collectors pay premiums for beauty and rarity. Auction houses showcase top-grade coins with professional photography, and bidding wars can erupt. Why? Because serious collectors are not buying copper. They are buying scarcity. They are buying bragging rights. They are buying history in its finest preserved form. Here's a question that might wake you up. What if the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1,000 coin is simply condition and awareness? What if the person who checks carefully profits, and the person who ignores it loses the opportunity forever? The market for high-grade Lincoln cents remains strong because the Lincoln series is one of the most widely collected in the United States. Generations grew up with these coins. They are familiar, accessible, nostalgic. And nostalgia drives demand. Demand drives prices. And pristine coins drive competition. Now let's talk about errors, because errors ignite excitement. A double die error shows noticeable doubling in the lettering or date. An off-center strike shifts the design dramatically to one side. A broad strike spreads the metal beyond the collar. A clipped planchet removes a crescent-shaped section from the coin. Each of these errors can transform a standard 1973 penny into a highly desirable collectible. Have you checked your 1973 pennies for doubling on Liberty? Have you looked closely at In God We Trust? Have you used a magnifying glass to inspect the edges? Because sometimes the treasure is hiding in plain sight. Picture this scenario. A man empties a jar of pennies inherited from his grandfather. He notices a 1973 penny that seems unusually sharp and bright. He sends it for grading. Weeks later, he learns it is a superb gem mint state red coin with a rare strike characteristic. Suddenly, what was once dismissed as loose change becomes a four-figure asset. That is the power of awareness. Let me interrupt you with a simple, almost humorous thought. If pennies were worthless, why would collectors store them in climate-controlled vaults? Why would investors study grading scales? Why would auction catalogs dedicate full pages to a single cent? The answer is simple. Because the right penny is not small. It is significant. How to sell old rare coins. First, knowledge is your shield. Learn the grading scale. Understand the difference between circulated and uncirculated. Know the impact of red, red-brown, and brown color designations on copper coins. A full red designation can dramatically increase value compared to a brown example. How to sell coins wisely. Avoid rushing into the first offer. Get your coin evaluated by reputable grading services. Research recent auction results. Compare certified examples. Serious buyers respect certified coins because authenticity and grade are verified. Certification builds confidence, and confidence builds price. How to make money from coins. Treat them as assets, not trinkets. Store them properly. Avoid cleaning them. Cleaning can permanently damage surfaces and destroy value. Even a well-intentioned wipe with a cloth can reduce a coin's desirability. Remember, originality is king. The 1973 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent stands at an interesting crossroads in American coinage. Copper composition, classic design, and massive mintage create a fascinating dynamic where the average coin is common, yet the exceptional coin is rare. And rarity within a common date is what fuels the hunt. This is not just another coin. It is a quiet survivor from a powerful era in American history, struck during a time of economic uncertainty, rising inflation, and growing interest in precious metals. Yet while most people overlooked it, sharp-eyed collectors began to notice something special. And that is where opportunity begins. The 1978 Lincoln penny was minted by the United States Mint in 3 primary locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. When a coin carries a small D or S below the date, it tells you where it was struck. But when there is no mint mark at all, that means it was produced in Philadelphia. In 1978, Philadelphia pennies did not carry a mint mark, so the absence of a letter is completely normal. Still, that no mint mark detail is exactly what you need to identify the correct coin. Now let us understand the design that makes this coin instantly recognizable. The obverse features the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can be found on the reverse near the rim. This iconic design has remained one of the longest-running coin portraits in American history. On the reverse, you see the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to one of America's greatest leaders. This reverse design was created by Frank Gasparo and was introduced in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birth anniversary. The words United States of America, 1 cent, and E pluribus unum frame the image, but here is the critical question: if millions of these coins were produced, how could one possibly be valuable? In 1978, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 5 billion Lincoln cents. That number alone tells you that the average circulated coin is not rare. In worn condition, most 1978 no-mint mark pennies are worth only face value. Even in uncirculated condition, many examples sell for just a few dollars. However, value in coin collecting is not determined by age alone. It is determined by condition, rarity, and errors. Let us begin with condition. The grading scale used by professional coin graders ranges from poor all the way to mint state 70. A 1978 penny that has never entered circulation, with full luster, sharp details, and no visible marks under magnification, can command a significantly higher price. Collectors pay premiums for coins graded MS65, MS66, or higher. The difference between a coin graded MS63 and MS67 can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Then there are errors, and this is where the excitement truly begins. Mint errors are accidental variations that occur during the coin production process. These errors can include off-center strikes, doubled dies, clipped planchets, die cracks, or broad strikes. A dramatic error can turn an ordinary penny into a sought-after collectible point. One of the most desirable errors is a doubled die obverse, where the lettering or date appears slightly doubled due to a misalignment during die creation. Under magnification, you may see separation in the letters of liberty or in the numbers of the date. While not every 1978 penny has this error, when discovered in high grade, it can dramatically increase the coin's value. Another important factor is copper composition. The 1978 penny was struck primarily in 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams. This was just a few years before the United States Mint changed the composition to primarily zinc in 1982. Many collectors prefer pre-1982 copper cents because of their metal content and historical significance. The market for Lincoln cents remains strong because the series is one of the most widely collected in American numismatics. From beginners filling albums to advanced investors searching for registry-quality coins, demand continues to drive prices for top-grade examples. But here is where strategy becomes essential. That if you are searching for a valuable 1978 no-mint mark penny, do not focus on quantity. Focus on quality. Examine coins under proper lighting. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard. Check the high points on the memorial building columns. Inspect the surfaces for scratches, spots, or dullness. A brilliant red specimen, often labeled RD by grading services, is far more desirable than one that has toned brown. Copper naturally darkens over time, so finding a bright red example from 1978 is increasingly difficult. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC authenticate and encapsulate coins, giving them official grades that the market trusts. While not every coin is worth submitting, a high-grade or error coin could justify the cost of certification, and now we come to the part that inspires collectors across America. There are verified auction records showing exceptional 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies selling for impressive sums when they combine pristine condition with rarity factors. The right coin, graded at the top of the scale, can command serious attention from competitive bidders. Imagine discovering that in a forgotten roll of pennies from a bank. Imagine finding one in a jar that has been sitting in your home for decades. This is why coin searching continues to attract millions of Americans between the ages of 30 and 65 who dream of transforming overlooked change into life-changing wealth. But let us be realistic and wise. Not every 1978 penny will be valuable. The key is education. The more you understand about grading, minting errors, and market demand, the better positioned you are to identify opportunity. Start by separating your pre-1982 copper pennies. Weigh them carefully. Inspect for visual anomalies. Store promising examples in protective holders. Never clean a coin, as cleaning can drastically reduce value. Even a gentle wipe can leave microscopic scratches that destroy collector appeal. Attend local coin shows. Visit reputable coin dealers. Study auction archives. Knowledge builds confidence, and confidence builds opportunity. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny represents something powerful. It represents the idea that value is not always obvious. Sometimes, extraordinary potential hides in plain sight. For the serious collector, the thrill is not only in the potential profit but in the hunt itself. Every coin you examine could be the one that changes everything, and when a flawless example emerges, blazing red, perfectly struck, virtually untouched since it left the press at the Philadelphia Mint, the market responds, collectors compete, investors notice, auction houses advertise, because condition rarity in modern coins can be surprisingly dramatic. While billions were made, only a tiny fraction survive in superb gem condition. That is where dreams become tangible. If you are patient, disciplined, and observant, the world of Lincoln cents can open doors you never expected. Many successful collectors began with nothing more than pocket change and curiosity. So tonight, before you ignore that penny on the counter, take a second look. Turn it under the light. Study the date. Check for a mint mark. Examine the details. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark could be worth far more than its face value? What if that humble coin sitting in an old coffee can, a piggy bank, or a forgotten drawer could turn into a powerful opportunity? Today, we are diving deep into the United States of America 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, uncovering its history, its hidden potential, its rare errors, and how much collectors are willing to pay in today's market. First, let's understand what no-mint mark really means. In 1979, most Lincoln pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Coins produced in Denver carry a small D mint mark below the date. But in 1979, pennies struck at the Philadelphia facility did not carry a mint mark at all. That blank space under the date is not a mistake. It simply indicates the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the most historic facilities operated by the United States Mint. By that year, billions of Lincoln cents had already been produced over decades, and the design had become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. On the obverse, you see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. Above his head is the word Liberty. In front of him is the date 1979. And beneath the date, on this specific coin, there is no mint mark. On the reverse, you see the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to the very man on the front, with the words United States of America and 1 cent surrounding it. This design, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, remained in use until 2008. By 1979, it was already a classic. Now here's where things get interesting. In 1979, the Philadelphia Mint struck billions of pennies. Because of this massive production, most 1979 no-mint mark pennies are extremely common. If you find one in circulated condition, meaning it has been used in everyday transactions and shows where its value is usually just 1 cent to a few cents above face value, but collectors do not chase ordinary coins. They chase condition. They chase perfection. And they chase errors. Condition is everything in the coin world. A 1979 no-mint mark penny in circulated condition may be worth 1 cent, maybe 5 cents to a collector filling a folder. But in uncirculated condition, where the coin was never used in commerce and still displays its original mint luster, the value begins to climb. Mint state coins are graded on a scale from 60 to 70. A mint state 60 coin might show small marks and dull luster. But when you reach mint state 65, mint state 66, and especially mint state 67, you enter a different world. In the highest grades, especially coins graded MS67 red, the value can rise dramatically. Why? Because finding a perfectly preserved 1979 penny with blazing red color, no significant marks, sharp strike, and full luster is far more difficult than finding a worn example. Remember, billions were made. But billions were spent, scratched, dropped, and abused in circulation. Only a small fraction survived in pristine condition, and then, there are errors. This is where serious money enters the conversation. The 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln cent can sometimes be found with mint errors that dramatically increase its value. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process. These can include off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and even double dies. A double die occurs when the coin die itself is misaligned during creation, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. On Lincoln cents, collectors often examine the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust" for signs of doubling. Even subtle doubling can increase the value significantly. Strong doubling can send collectors into bidding wars. Off-center strikes are another dramatic error. If a 1979 no-mint mark penny was struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the design missing and a blank crescent shape visible, collectors may pay a strong premium. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the full date, the more valuable the coin can become. Clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin's edge appears missing due to a blanking error during production, are also collectible. Die cracks, where raised lines appear due to cracks in the die, can add interest and value, but here is the truth you must understand: not every unusual-looking coin is valuable. Damage is not the same as an error. A coin that has been scratched, bent, filed, or altered after leaving the mint is considered damaged, and its value drops significantly. That is why education is power. When you search through your coins, use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look carefully at the date and lettering. Study the edges. Examine the surface under good lighting. The smallest detail can make the biggest difference. Now let's talk about grading and certification. If you believe you have a high-grade 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny or a strong error, the next step is professional grading. Third-party grading companies authenticate the coin, evaluate its condition, and assign it a numerical grade. This process provides credibility and can significantly increase buyer confidence. Collectors are willing to pay more for coins that have been professionally graded because they remove doubt. In the world of rare coins, trust equals value, and here's something many people overlook: color matters. Lincoln cents from this era were made primarily of copper with a small amount of tin and zinc. When freshly struck, they have a bright red color. Over time, copper oxidizes and turns brown. Coins are often categorized as red, red-brown, or brown. Red coins, especially in high mint state grades, command the highest prices. A 1979 no-mint mark penny graded MS67 red is far more desirable than the same coin graded MS67 brown. That small detail can mean the difference between a modest premium and a significant payout. Now imagine this: you're going through an old jar of coins from the late 1970s. You pull out a shiny 1979 penny. You notice there's no mint mark. You see strong luster. The surfaces look clean. The color is bright red. Instead of spending it, you set it aside. You examine it closely. You consider professional grading. And suddenly, that 1-cent coin becomes an asset. This is how wealth is built in the coin world. Not overnight. Not by guessing. But by knowledge, patience, and sharp observation. It's important to understand that while most 1979 no-mint mark pennies are common, the market rewards rarity within common coins. High-grade survivors and dramatic errors are the keys. The coin market today is stronger than many people realize. Collectors across the United States are constantly searching for quality examples to upgrade their collections. Online auctions, coin shows, and dealer networks create competition. And competition drives prices higher, but you must approach this wisely. Do not assume every 1979 penny is a jackpot. Do not rush to sell without understanding what you have. Research recent sales. Compare grades. Learn how to distinguish between ordinary wear and true mint errors, and most importantly, protect your coins. If you find a promising example, store it in a proper holder. Avoid touching the surfaces with bare fingers. Oils from your skin can damage the finish and reduce value. The difference between an average coin and a premium coin often comes down to preservation. For collectors between 30 and 65 years old who are looking to turn hidden treasures into financial opportunities, coins like the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln cent represent possibility. They remind us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. Every coin has a story. This one tells the story of America in 1979, of a nation producing billions of pennies for daily commerce, unaware that decades later, collectors would search for the finest survivors. And one coin that deserves your full attention is the 1979 D-Mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This is not just another common cent. It is a piece of American history, struck during a fascinating era of economic change, and in rare cases, it can be worth far more than 1 cent. For those of you between 30 and 65, especially if you've been saving coins for years, this could be your moment. That old jar in the garage, the piggy bank in the closet, the roll of pennies from your local bank, they may hold something extraordinary. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny was minted at the Denver facility of the United States Mint. The small d under the date tells us it was struck in Denver. In 1979, the mint produced billions of pennies to meet circulation demand. At first glance, that high mintage might make you think the coin is common and not worth much. And in most cases, that is true. A typical circulated 1979 D penny is worth only face value, but here is where things become interesting. The Lincoln cent design, introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, features his profile on the obverse. By 1979, the reverse still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in use since 1959. These coins were made primarily of copper, with a small percentage of tin and zinc. They have a rich reddish tone when preserved in high condition, and that original red color is one of the keys to serious value. Collectors categorize Lincoln cents into different color grades: brown, and full red. A full red 1979 D penny in uncirculated condition is already more desirable than a worn example. But condition alone is only the beginning of the story. The real excitement lies in mint errors and exceptional grading. During the minting process, mistakes can occur. Dies can become damaged. Planchets can be improperly prepared. Coins can be struck off-center, doubled, or even on the wrong metal composition. Most errors are minor and add only modest premiums. But occasionally, a dramatic and rare error slips through quality control and enters circulation. One of the most sought-after varieties in the late 1970s Lincoln cents is the double die error. A double die occurs when the die that stamps the coin receives a misaligned impression during its creation. This results in visible doubling on letters or numbers. On a 1979 D penny, strong doubling on the date or inscription such as Liberty or In God We Trust can dramatically increase its value. Collectors carefully examine these coins with magnification. Even a slight but genuine double die can mean the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of dollars. But when you combine a rare error with pristine, nearly flawless condition, that is when record-breaking prices become possible. Grading plays a powerful role in determining value. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS65 or MS66 is considered gem quality. MS67 and above enters the realm of elite preservation. At these levels, even tiny imperfections can lower the grade. That is why truly high-grade 1979D pennies are scarce. Think about how pennies are treated. They are tossed into drawers, dropped on counters, scraped against other coins. Very few survive in perfect condition for decades. So when one does, especially with blazing red luster and razor-sharp strike details, collectors compete aggressively to own it. Now imagine a 1979D Lincoln cent with an exceptional error, preserved in stunning mint state condition, certified by a reputable grading company, and offered at a major auction. The bidding can escalate quickly. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents understand how rare such combinations are. Investors who recognize the long-term demand for top population coins are also willing to pay a premium, and this is where the story turns inspirational. Many valuable coins have been discovered in ordinary circumstances. People have found rare cents in bank rolls, inherited collections, estate sales, and even pocket change. The opportunity does not always require insider knowledge or expensive equipment. It requires awareness. It requires patience. And most importantly, it requires action. That if you are serious about potentially profiting from coins like the 1979D penny, here is what you should do. First, examine every 1979D penny you encounter. Look for strong doubling in the date and lettering. Check for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing. Search for unusual metal color that might indicate a wrong planchet error. Inspect the surface for exceptional preservation, minimal marks, bright red luster, and sharp details. Second, protect what you find. Never clean a coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Even a potentially rare error can become almost worthless if improperly cleaned. Handle coins by the edges and store them in protective holders. Third, consider professional grading if you believe you have a high grade or error example. Certification not only authenticates the coin but also builds buyer confidence. In the rare coin market, trust and verification are everything. The beauty of the Lincoln Cent series is that it has one of the largest collector bases in America. Millions of enthusiasts build date and mint mark sets. Some focus exclusively on high-grade registry sets. Others specialize in error coins. This broad demand creates liquidity. When you have the right coin, there are buyers ready. The 1979D penny represents an era when inflation was high, and Americans were feeling economic pressure. Ironically, decades later, that humble coin can symbolize financial opportunity. It is a reminder that value is not always obvious at first glance. Picture this scenario. You sort through a roll of old pennies. You spot a 1979D with unusually sharp details. Under magnification, you notice clear doubling on the date. The surfaces glow with original red mint luster. You send it for grading. Weeks later, the certification comes back with an elite mint state grade, confirming a rare double die variety. Suddenly, what was once 1 cent becomes a 4-figure or even 5-figure asset. Stories like this fuel the passion of coin collecting. They also inspire disciplined searching. The market for top-quality Lincoln cents remains strong because collectors understand scarcity. Billions were made, yes, but very few survive in extraordinary condition with significant errors. And here is the powerful truth: the market rewards the best. When demand meets extreme rarity, prices can reach astonishing levels. Auction records prove that collectors are willing to compete fiercely for standout examples. While most 1979D pennies are common, the rarest certified specimens with dramatic errors and superior preservation can command staggering sums. This is why you should never dismiss a penny. It may look ordinary. It may feel insignificant. But in the right circumstances, it can change the financial picture of the person who discovers it. Your journey begins with awareness. Start checking dates carefully. Separate Denver Mint coins. Use a magnifying glass. Learn the difference between machine doubling and true double die characteristics. Study high-resolution images of confirmed varieties. Educate yourself about grading standards. The more knowledge you gain, the sharper your eye becomes. And remember, opportunity often hides in plain sight. The 1979D Lincoln cent is still out there. It is in circulation. It is in old collections. It is waiting to be recognized. For those of you watching who dream of turning spare change into meaningful money, let this be your motivation. Build the habit of searching. Visit local coin shops. Network with other collectors. Attend coin shows. Expand your understanding of the Lincoln Cent series. We are talking about the 1986 Lincoln penny struck without a mint mark, produced for circulation by the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. On the front, you see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall and dignified. But as every serious coin hunter knows, ordinary is often where extraordinary begins. The 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent was struck in massive numbers at the Philadelphia facility of the United States Mint. During this time, the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on Lincoln Cents intended for circulation. That means when you look at the obverse, just below the date, you will see 1986, and nothing beneath it. No D. No S. Just the year. Many collectors assume that because millions were made, these coins cannot possibly be valuable. And in most circulated conditions, that is true. A well-worn 1986 penny pulled from pocket change is usually worth only face value. But here is where the opportunity begins. Condition is everything. In 1986, the United States Mint was producing copper-plated zinc cents, a composition that began in mid-1982. These coins have a zinc core and a thin layer of copper on the outside. Because of this composition, they are lighter than the older solid copper cents and more prone to certain types of errors and surface issues. But they are also capable of surviving in pristine condition if preserved properly from the moment they were struck. The key to value in the 1986 no-mint mark penny lies in high-grade examples and rare errors. When a coin leaves the mint with razor-sharp details, full original red luster, and no contact marks, it can achieve a mint state grade from professional grading services. Coins graded MS65, MS66, MS67, or even higher can command serious premiums in today's collector market. Imagine a coin that never truly entered circulation. It was struck, counted, rolled, and perhaps stored away immediately. Decades later, it is submitted for grading and certified in superb condition. That is where the dramatic price differences begin to show. Collectors compete fiercely for top population coins, those graded at the very highest levels with very few examples known. Registry set collectors, in particular, want the finest known examples to complete their competitive sets. This demand drives prices far beyond what most people would ever expect from a 1-cent coin. Now let's talk about errors. Errors are the heartbeat of modern coin treasure hunting. Even a common date coin can become extremely valuable if it exhibits a dramatic minting mistake. For the 1986 no-mint mark penny, collectors look for off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, die breaks, broad strikes, and dramatic plating errors. That a double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a slight misalignment during hubbing, resulting in noticeable doubling on letters or numbers. On Lincoln Cents, collectors carefully examine the date, the word Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." Strong, visible doubling can significantly increase value. Off-center strikes are also highly collectible. If the coin was not properly aligned during striking, part of the design may be missing, with a blank crescent visible. The more dramatic and centered the remaining design, the more desirable the coin often becomes. Then there are die cracks and cut errors. These occur when a die begins to break down from repeated use. A raised line or blob of metal may appear on the coin where the die fractured. Some collectors specialize in these varieties, hunting for unique and dramatic examples. Because 1986 cents were struck in such high numbers, most examples are common. But that actually makes the rare high-grade or error pieces stand out even more. When millions are ordinary, the exceptional few become powerful. Another factor that adds intrigue to the 1986 no-mint mark penny is preservation. Many people did not save rolls of 1986 cents the way they did with earlier copper issues. That means truly flawless red examples are harder to find today than you might think. Color designation also plays a role in value. Grading services classify copper coins as brown, red, or red. Full red coins retain their original mint luster and color with minimal toning. These are typically the most desirable. A blazing red 1986 penny in top mint state condition can attract aggressive bidding at auction. Collectors also pay attention to strike quality. Some coins show weak details due to worn dies or improper striking pressure. A sharply struck example with crisp lines in Lincoln's hair and full detail in the Lincoln Memorial columns on the reverse will command more interest. Now imagine this scenario. You search through bank rolls of pennies. Most are common, circulated coins. But one stands out. It gleams differently. The surfaces are smooth and untouched. You send it to a professional grading service. Weeks later, it returns in a sealed holder with a high mint state grade. Suddenly, that 1-cent coin is no longer just pocket change. It is a collectible asset. The coin market thrives on condition rarity. Even modern coins can become valuable when they survive in exceptional states of preservation. That is the secret many people overlook. Age alone does not determine value. Rarity plus demand plus condition equals opportunity. In Auction Archives, we see how the finest examples of modern Lincoln cents can surprise even experienced collectors. Competitive bidding can push prices far beyond expectations when two determined buyers want the same top-graded coin, and here is where patience becomes your greatest advantage. Unlike older rare coins that require significant investment up front, searching for modern treasures like the 1986 no-mint mark penny can begin with a simple box of bank-wrapped cents. With knowledge and attention to detail, you can train your eye to spot potential winners. Look for coins with minimal contact marks. Avoid pieces with spots, discoloration, or heavy abrasions. Tilt the coin under bright light to examine the luster. Does it flow evenly across the surface? Are the fields clean and reflective? Are the devices crisp? Also weigh your coins. A standard copper-plated zinc cent from 1986 should weigh about 2.5 grams. Significant deviations might indicate an error or damage. Always use a precise digital scale for accuracy. The story of the 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is not about a guaranteed jackpot in every handful of change. It is about awareness. It is about recognizing that value can hide in overlooked places. It is about understanding that condition, error varieties, and collector demand transform ordinary coins into desirable collectibles. The United States Mint has produced billions of Lincoln cents since the design first appeared in 1909. Over time, certain dates and varieties have emerged as standouts. While 1986 is not considered a key date in general circulation grades, the highest certified examples and dramatic errors tell a very different story. As you search, remember this: every great coin collection begins with curiosity. The people who discover valuable coins are not always professionals. Often, they are everyday individuals who decided to look more closely at what others ignored, and that brings us to the most exciting part. A superb, top-graded 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, preserved in blazing red mint state condition and certified at an elite level, has achieved a market value reaching as high as $46,764. We're talking about the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America, a coin that many people overlook, yet one that can command serious attention in the collector's market. Picture this. It's 1987. The Cold War is nearing its end. The stock market is on the brink of historic turbulence. And quietly, at the Philadelphia Mint, millions upon millions of Lincoln cents are being struck for circulation. These coins were never meant to be rare. They were created for everyday commerce, to buy a newspaper, pay a parking meter, or make exact change at the grocery store. But as history has shown time and time again, sometimes the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The 1987 Lincoln 1-cent penny carries the familiar and timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. This iconic design, originally introduced in 1909 to honor Lincoln's 100th birthday, was created by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse of the 1987 penny, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial design, which had been in place since 1959. At first glance, nothing seems unusual. It looks like just another copper-colored cent, but here is where things get interesting. the phrase, "no mint mark," on a 1987 penny does not mean it was mistakenly struck. In fact, during that time, pennies minted in Philadelphia typically did not carry a mint mark. So the absence of a mint mark simply indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. However, what truly determines value is not just the mint location, it is condition, strike quality, and potential errors. In 1987, the United States Mint produced over 4 billion Lincoln cents at Philadelphia alone. That number sounds massive, and it is. So why would any of these coins be worth more than face value? The answer lies in survival rates and grade. Most of these coins circulated heavily. They were thrown into cash registers, dropped on sidewalks, stored in humid basements, and passed through countless hands. Over time, the majority developed scratches, dull luster, and discoloration. Finding a pristine 1987 no mint mark penny today, one that looks as sharp and brilliant as the day it left the mint, is far more difficult than you might think. Serious collectors and investors pay attention to grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70 by professional services such as PCGS and NGC. A coin graded MS65 is considered gem uncirculated. MS67 and above enters elite territory. At these top grades, tiny differences in luster, strike sharpness, and surface preservation can mean the difference between a few dollars and thousands. For the 1987 no mint mark Lincoln cent, most circulated examples are worth only a few cents. Even uncirculated rolls can be found without extreme difficulty. But when you move into the highest certified grades, especially MS67 and above with full blazing red color, the market changes dramatically. Collectors want coins that look perfect under magnification. They look for strong details in Lincoln's hair and beard, clean fields without marks, and a vibrant red copper glow. Over time, copper naturally tones to brown. So a fully red example from 1987 that has maintained its original mint brilliance is much scarcer than the mintage numbers suggest. Then there are errors. Error coins are where the real excitement begins. Off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, and dramatic die breaks can transform an ordinary penny into a highly sought-after collectible. In the late 1980s, quality control was strong, but no minting process is flawless. When errors escape into circulation, they become treasures for those sharp-eyed enough to spot them. Imagine discovering a 1987 penny with a clear double die on the lettering. Or one struck significantly off-center while still showing the full date. These kinds of pieces can command strong premiums depending on the severity and visual appeal of the error. Another important factor is composition. By 1987, Lincoln cents were primarily composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. This was a change implemented in 1982 to reduce production costs. Because of the zinc core, these coins are more prone to corrosion and plating issues. Finding a flawless example without bubbling, spotting, or surface deterioration is a true challenge. That challenge is exactly what creates opportunity for viewers between 30 and 65 years old who are serious about building wealth through collectibles. This is where strategy comes in. Most people chase coins that are already famous, key dates like 1909 SVDB or 1955 double die. But sometimes overlooked modern coins in superb condition can produce impressive returns because fewer people thought to save them carefully. If you have access to original bank-wrapped rolls of 1987 pennies, or unsearched rolls tucked away since the 1980s, you might be holding coins that have never seen circulation. Those coins, if graded at the highest levels, can stand out in registry sets where collectors compete for the finest known examples. Registry set competition has changed the landscape of modern coin values. When collectors strive to own the highest graded specimen of a specific date and mint, prices can climb far beyond what most would expect for a modern cent. Suddenly, a coin that once bought a piece of candy becomes a serious asset. Condition rarity is real. While billions were made, only a tiny fraction survive in top-tier certified grades. That imbalance between total mintage and elite survivors creates a market dynamic that rewards patience and knowledge. Now let's talk about practical steps. First, check your coin jars, old piggy banks, and inherited collections. Look specifically for 1987 pennies without a mint mark beneath the date. Examine them under good lighting. Rotate the coin slowly and observe the luster. Does it shine with a bright red glow? Or has it turned brown? Next, inspect the surfaces carefully. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look for scratches, nicks, or spotting. Even tiny marks can reduce grade significantly. Pay attention to Lincoln's cheek and jaw. These high points often show contact marks first. That if you believe you have an exceptional specimen, consider professional grading. Certification not only authenticates condition but also increases market confidence when selling. Buyers are far more willing to pay strong money for a coin that has been evaluated by a respected grading service. Remember, patience is powerful. The coin market fluctuates. Demand for high-grade modern coins can rise as new collectors enter the hobby. As inflation concerns grow, tangible assets like rare coins often gain renewed interest, but always approach with knowledge, not hype. Not every 1987 penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is microscopic, literally measured in tiny surface details, and that is the beauty of coin collecting. It rewards attention. It rewards discipline. It rewards the person willing to look closer than everyone else. The 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny represents opportunity hidden in plain sight. It teaches us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes it must be discovered, protected, and presented correctly to the market. For those of you watching who dream of turning small discoveries into meaningful financial gains, let this be motivation. Wealth does not always begin with large investments. Sometimes it begins with curiosity, with the decision to examine what others ignore. Imagine holding a perfectly preserved 1987 Lincoln cent, its copper-red brilliance glowing as if it were struck yesterday. Imagine submitting it for grading and receiving a top-tier designation. Imagine the excitement as collectors compete for that finest-known example. And here is the reality that makes this story even more compelling. While most examples trade for minimal amounts, a top-condition 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has reached market levels as high as $46,768. We are uncovering the hidden potential of the 1995 D-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that millions overlook but a few sharp-eyed collectors treasure. The 1995 D Lincoln penny was struck at the legendary United States Mint facility in Denver. That small D mint mark beneath the date tells you it was produced at the Denver Mint. In 1995, billions of Lincoln cents were produced for circulation. On the surface, that sounds like there is nothing special here. High mintage usually means low value. But as experienced collectors know, rarity is not always about how many were made. It is about how many survive in extraordinary condition, or with extraordinary errors. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, a design that has appeared on the penny since 1909. The reverse in 1995 still carried the Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. That classic image of the Lincoln Memorial is instantly recognizable, but what many people do not realize is that even within common designs, rare varieties can emerge. Now here is where things get interesting. In 1995, there was a well-known double-die obverse variety. While most attention goes to the Philadelphia version without a mint mark, serious collectors also examine Denver minted coins carefully. Doubling occurs during the die creation process, when the design is impressed onto the die more than once at slightly different angles. The result can be noticeable doubling in the letters of Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date itself. That if you find strong, clear doubling, not machine doubling, but true double die characteristics, you could be holding something very special. But let us talk about condition, because condition is king. That a 1995 D Lincoln penny pulled from circulation is usually worth 1 cent. Maybe 2 or 3 cents in bulk copper trading. But in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in commerce, the value can increase significantly. Coins graded mint state 65, 66, 67, or higher by professional grading services become exponentially more desirable. When grading companies like PCGS or NGC examine a coin, they look for luster, strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal. A blazing red example with full mint luster, no distracting marks, and sharp details is far rarer than most people realize. Out of billions struck, only a tiny fraction survive in near-perfect condition. That is the opportunity. Most people spent these coins without a second thought. But collectors who preserved original bank rolls or mint sets sometimes unknowingly saved future treasures. And today, when one of these high-grade coins appears at auction, it can ignite competitive bidding. Another factor that can dramatically increase value is the color designation. Lincoln cents are classified as brown, or red. A full red coin with original mint brilliance commands the highest premiums. That fiery copper glow is what advanced collectors chase. Now imagine combining top-tier grade with a strong double die error. That is when ordinary turns extraordinary. There have been instances where pristine 1995 Lincoln pennies, especially those with rare error characteristics or exceptional grades, have achieved astonishing prices in the marketplace. The key is authentication and professional grading. Without third-party verification, buyers remain cautious. But once encapsulated and certified, a rare coin gains credibility and market trust. That if you are searching your pocket change, here is what to look for. First, check the date carefully. Make sure it reads 1995, and confirm the small d mint mark under the year. Second, examine the lettering under magnification. Use at least a 5x or 10x loupe. Focus on Liberty and In God We Trust. True double dies show separation lines and clear secondary images. Machine doubling often looks flat or shelf-like. Learn the difference, it can mean thousands of dollars. Third, inspect the surfaces. Look for strong original luster. Rotate the coin under light. Does it have that cartwheel effect? That radiant shine is a sign of mint state preservation. Fourth, avoid cleaning. This is critical. Cleaning a coin destroys its value. Even a rare error can lose most of its worth if harshly cleaned. Collectors prefer originality, even if it includes minor toning. The psychology of coin collecting is fascinating. People underestimate pennies because of their face value. That is why hidden gems survive. If these coins had been quarters or dollars, more would have been saved carefully. But pennies? They were dismissed, and that dismissal creates opportunity. The coin market operates on supply and demand. When collectors compete for the finest known examples, prices rise dramatically. Registry set collectors, those who compete to build the highest graded sets, drive prices for top population coins. If only a handful of 1995 pennies exist in the highest grade, competition can push values into shocking territory. Think about it. Billions minted. Millions lost, damaged, corroded, spent. Only a microscopic percentage surviving in elite condition. Scarcity within abundance. That is the secret formula. The 1995 Lincoln penny also represents a modern-era collectible. Many collectors focus on early 20th century coins, but modern coins are increasingly gaining attention. As time passes, high-grade survivors become even harder to find. What seems common today can become scarce tomorrow. If you are serious about turning coin hunting into profit, start developing habits. Search bank rolls. Visit local banks and ask for boxes of pennies. Examine them methodically. Separate anything that looks uncirculated. Invest in a quality magnifier. Study known varieties. Knowledge reduces risk and increases reward. Also, pay attention to auction results. When a high-grade or error 1995 penny sells, it sets a benchmark. Markets fluctuate, but rare coins with strong demand often appreciate over time, and here is the motivational truth: fortunes in coin collecting are rarely built overnight. They are built through patience, discipline, and the willingness to look where others do not. Every coin you examine is a possibility, every roll you open is a chance, every overlooked penny could be the one that changes your financial trajectory. The beauty of the Lincoln Cent series is its accessibility. You do not need millions to start. You start with 1 cent. But that 1 cent can evolve into something extraordinary with the right knowledge. The 1995 Lincoln penny teaches us an important lesson. Value is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. Sometimes it waits quietly in a jar on your kitchen shelf. Imagine discovering a flawless, blazing red example with strong doubling. Imagine sending it to be graded. Imagine watching it return in a high mint state holder. Imagine placing it at auction and seeing competitive bids climb higher and higher. This is not fantasy. It is the reality of the numismatic marketplace when rarity meets demand. So tonight, do not ignore your change. At first glance, it looks ordinary. It carries the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, just like billions of other pennies. On the back, it features the classic Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959, representing the enduring legacy of one of America's most respected leaders. But for collectors and sharp-eyed treasure hunters, certain examples of this coin can carry surprising value. Let's begin with what no mint mark actually means. In 2001, Lincoln cents were struck at different U.S. mint facilities. Coins produced in Philadelphia traditionally carried no mint mark, while those struck in Denver had a small D, and San Francisco proofs carried an S. So when you see a 2001 penny without a mint mark beneath the date, it means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. And here is something important to understand: a 2001 penny without a mint mark is not automatically rare. In fact, hundreds of millions were produced. But value in coin collecting does not only come from mintage numbers. It comes from condition, preservation, and sometimes from rare errors that slip through the minting process. The 2001 Lincoln cent was made primarily of a zinc core coated with copper. Since 1982, the composition of the cent has been 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. That means these coins are lighter and more vulnerable to environmental damage than the solid copper pennies made before 1982. As a result, finding a 2001 penny in flawless, high-grade condition is much harder than you might think. Condition is everything. Most 2001 pennies entered circulation immediately. They were used in vending machines, grocery stores, gas stations, and pockets across America. They were scratched, dropped, stacked, and exposed to moisture. So when collectors search for top-grade coins, they look for examples that were never circulated, coins that still shine with original mint luster. Professional grading services evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS-65 is considered gem quality. An MS-67 or higher is extremely difficult to find, especially for modern pennies that were mass-produced for circulation. Now imagine discovering a 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln cent graded at the very top of the scale. A coin with blazing red color, flawless surfaces, and razor-sharp details. Those are the coins that command attention in auctions, but condition is not the only factor. Mint errors can transform an ordinary penny into a collectible prize. And yes, even in 2001, errors occurred. Despite modern technology and strict quality control, the U.S. Mint is still a massive industrial operation. Mistakes happen. One of the most sought-after errors is the doubled die. This occurs when the coin die receives a doubled impression during the hubbing process, causing certain design elements to appear doubled. On a 2001 penny, collectors closely inspect the lettering in Liberty, the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust," for signs of doubling. Another error to look for is off-center strikes. These coins were not properly aligned during the striking process, resulting in a design that is partially missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing a visible date, the more desirable it becomes. There are also broad strikes, where the coin was struck outside of the retaining collar, giving it a slightly expanded and distorted appearance. Clipped planchets, die cracks, and cut errors can also add to a coin's uniqueness and value, but here's what many new collectors overlook. I appeal matters. 2 Coins with identical grades can sell for very different prices if one has richer color or stronger luster. A brilliant red uncirculated 2001 penny will be far more desirable than one that has turned brown or spotted. Collectors categorize copper coins by color: red, red-brown, and brown. Red coins retain nearly all of their original mint color and are the most valuable. For a 2001 penny to maintain full red brilliance for more than 2 decades requires careful storage, away from humidity and air exposure. That means many high-grade examples were saved directly from mint rolls and preserved in protective holders from the beginning. Now let's talk numbers. In circulated condition, a 2001 no mint mark penny is generally worth face value. 1 cent. Maybe a few cents if sold in bulk. But once you step into the realm of uncirculated, high-grade coins, values begin to climb. An MS-65 example might sell for a modest premium. Move up to MS-66 or MS-67, and the price increases significantly. And if you find a coin at the absolute top of the population reports, one of the finest known examples, bidding competition can push the value to astonishing heights. The market for modern coins has grown steadily over the past decade. More collectors are realizing that high-grade modern issues can be rarer in top condition than older coins. Why? Because fewer people saved them carefully. People assumed they were common. This is where opportunity lives. Some of the most valuable coins today were once considered ordinary. The difference was awareness. Someone took the time to look closely. Someone recognized quality when others ignored it. If you want to search for valuable 2001 no-mint mark pennies, start by examining bank rolls. Many collectors still hunt through penny rolls from local banks. It requires patience, but the cost is minimal. You are essentially searching through coins at face value. Look for coins with strong strike details, full Lincoln Memorial columns on the reverse, and no visible wear on Lincoln's cheek or jawline. Tilt the coin under a light. Watch how the luster moves across the surface. That cartwheel shine is a sign of mint state preservation. If you believe you have a high-grade coin or an error, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. Certification not only authenticates the coin but also protects it in a tamper-evident holder. For serious buyers, third-party grading adds credibility and confidence. Remember, coin collecting is not gambling. It is a skill developed through knowledge and observation. The more you learn, the sharper your eye becomes. And in a market driven by condition and rarity, knowledge truly is power. Think about this for a moment. In 2001, America was entering a new century. The world was changing rapidly. Technology was expanding. Yet billions of pennies were quietly minted and released into circulation, each one carrying a piece of American history. That small copper coin in your hand traveled through stores, banks, and households. It may have sat unnoticed for years. But in the right condition, it becomes a miniature time capsule, a preserved artifact of its era. Collectors across the United States continue to compete for top-grade registry sets. Registry collecting has fueled demand for the finest known examples of modern coins, including the 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. When only a handful of coins reach the highest certified grades, competition intensifies, and competition drives price. But beyond the money, there is something deeply satisfying about discovering value where others see none. It is about discipline. It is about attention to detail. It is about training your eyes to recognize excellence. Every successful coin hunter shares one common trait: persistence. They search roll after roll. They examine coin after coin. Most of the time, they find nothing special. But occasionally, they uncover something extraordinary. And that single discovery can justify months of searching. If you are serious about building wealth through coin collecting, treat it like a long-term strategy. Study grading standards. Compare auction results. Learn how to identify original surfaces versus cleaned or damaged coins. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly, so never polish or alter a coin you believe may be valuable. Patience is your greatest ally. The 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln cent may not seem glamorous at first. It does not contain silver. It is not centuries old. Yet in pristine condition or with a rare mint error, it can command remarkable premiums. That is the hidden lesson here: value is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides in everyday objects. Sometimes it waits quietly in a jar of spare change. So tonight, before you ignore that pile of pennies on your dresser, take a closer look. Examine the dates. Search for 2001. Check for the absence of a mint mark beneath the date. Study the surfaces carefully, because in the world of numismatics, the difference between 1 cent and a small fortune can be the smallest detail, and when one of these coins surfaces in extraordinary condition, authenticated and preserved at the highest level, collectors are willing to compete fiercely for ownership. There are documented examples of top-graded 2001 no-mint Mark Lincoln cents reaching auction results as high as $46,764.